Hey y'all. Welcome to it's Wednesday. So it's time for He
Yes,
Say, She
Work it out
Say
Wednesday.
yes.
Singles Chat. What's up, everybody? So you can go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm
My
Dana.
name is Go ahead, Dana.
I'm Dana Tyler.
Awesome. I'm Shonda.
I'm Elisha,
That's
and
so
the only
cool.
guy
I
here.
am the
That's how
only
we roll.
guy in the room.
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
was
pray for you
thrown
tonight because
to the wolves tonight.
it may be a little rough. So we're gonna go ahead and share. If you want to take the time to share our broadcast, let your single friends know that we are on for sorry guys, for a real conversation tonight. So let's just go ahead and share. All right. All right. So how's everybody doing? I'll give y'all 30 more seconds to share.
Hey, Regina.
Hey Regina.
She's so faithful. Hey, Olivia.
Hey
She's so faithful
Olivia.
too.
Hey
Olivia, my
Latasha.
favorite.
You said who?
Olivia's my favorite. I love her.
Hey guys. I see y'all coming in the room. Go ahead and share this. We're gonna have a real conversation tonight, wrapped around, of course, singleness, the current climate, and all of that. We want to say a big shout out to our founder and visionary, the Mark Moore Jr. We love you so
Absolutely.
much. Thank you for giving us a space on this platform every week to discuss the matters of our heart. Hey, South Africa, what's up? I see you, Monica. I see you, Caleb. Nigeria. Let me say, we going
Africa
international.
is
International.
We
International.
are international. Come on in. We love y'all. Greetings. Good to see you. It's good to see you. So I guess we can just go ahead and start. Um, how y'all feeling? Like for real? Cause I'm still having a rough time. Hey Anthony.
I am drained. I'm just drained. At some point, I feel like I'm out of words, but I have to keep having conversations with people because I think this is such just such a charged climate. And I'm glad that it's sparking conversation with certain people. You know, I have friends of all ethnicities, and I'm really glad that a lot of my Caucasian friends are reaching out to me as a voice of wisdom and a voice of like a safe place for them to talk. Because I've noticed a lot of them feel like they're under attack, even though they're nice people. They they're I'm not racist, that kind of thing, and they truly aren't. But it's interesting because I get to have those conversations with them to kind of explain the dynamics of what's going on if you haven't been on that side of racism. So I kind of feel like I'm talked out. I kind of feel drained, saddened, sickened, all of that. Like just a roller coaster of emotions.
Dr. Shonda.
Same boat as Dana. So very emotionally exhausted. Somebody had posted a meme earlier that said that most professionals are, holding back tears in between Zoom meetings and like holding back their thoughts and biting their tongue. And that really resonated with me because, I feel as though, of course, like I'm, a therapist, the healer in the room. So, well, of course, Jesus is the healer, but the provider in the room, right? So I'm supposed to be safe, having this safe space for this individual to discuss their feelings. And it's like, I have all these feelings. So this week, my community, my village has been really important. I've been relying on them a lot, discussing my emotions with them a lot. Having that social support system was really important to me. And I feel like I'm not at the point where I am willing to, of course, I want to spark those conversations. But when it comes to those who might be uninformed about, systematic oppression and racism and things of that nature, I feel like I'm too tapped out to keep talking about that. Like there are enough resources, there are enough books, we had enough hashtags. Like it's time for y'all to take more responsibility in educating yourselves on this topic. So yeah, that's where I am, kind of checked out in that regard, but still kind of like working through my own emotions.
Oh, that's
I'm gonna say
obviously
you're the only one. I mean,
You know
you
obviously me.
how you like.
Obviously me. I mean, this whole thing is kind of it enhances the idea of community. It almost feels like the time in which we need community the most and we need to be around each other the most, we just so happen to be in a place of isolation. And so just being able to reach out to as many as possible and as often as possible, taking little things just a little bit more serious. I don't think we ever really are like, oh, that can't be that big a deal. But even just the little things, even just the, I'm not feeling well today or whatever, I will, I take that initiative and make sure that love is felt and make sure that the people that I care about, and sometimes even just people that I just see, I don't even have to necessarily know them, but just let them know that, it's going to be okay and it's okay to feel how you feel, but do not hold on to it and find a way to release it. And so those are kind of the things that I have been pushing to do. I've been having conversations, so things are not impressed upon me. Like I'm not holding on to things. I'm consistently in dialogue. And so I'm in a safe space as far as the idea of the things that are going on. I'm not letting them control me or control how I think. Also watching as many healthy and safe dialogues that I can, interacting. And I think even in this time, our online community has been super, super strong. So I just, just grateful to have the tools, but thankful to be smart enough to use them.
okay. That's what's up. I think I don't know. I've been going through a whole lot of emotions. Like 1 minute I want to fight, then I want to pray, then I want to cry, then I want to tell everybody off, then I want to. It's like it's almost like the stages of grief. Like I can't believe this is really happening.
Absolutely.
Like why are we still here? And then it's like okay, maybe I'll just go to sleep and when I wake up it'll be 2021, and then we'll be magically something. It's just we've been through so much, like from going through COVID-19, and we're still there, right? Like people are still sick, people are still passing away, and like just trying to get through a lot of that trauma. So I'm still, today was a rough day. I will say that today emotionally was a rough day, but I think that one of the things that we all have in common on this channel is that our hope is in Jesus Christ, and I really had to rely on the joy of the Lord is my strength today. That's all I had. I had nothing else. All I had today was the joy of the Lord is our strength. Yeah. So I wanted to kick off our conversation because last week we paused our pretty much our singles conversation, and we just talked about just how we were feeling and the climate. But I want to intermingle the two, and I want to talk about. Y'all ready? I want to talk about how do you think interracial couples can talk about this during this time?
That's a good question.
Right? Like, how do you feel that, like, if you're dating someone, is everyone open to interracial dating? Like, don't feel no type of way. It's okay if you want a strong black man.
Well, let me say this. As one who has birthed two biracial babies, I'm okay with interracial marriages and commingling and dating. I will also say this. Having been married to a white man and a black man, some of the stereotypes that you hear are true. But
Come back, babe.
I can't.
That went left back. Listen, we've been on for all of 30 seconds.
Oh my goodness.
30 seconds. I knew it was coming.
She's talking about credit scores. She's talking about credit scores. All right.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't even talking about that, but
you said that some of the stereotypes were true. God bless you. Just keep going because the principal is watching.
Well, let's interject a little levity tonight, shall we?
Oh Okay, so you're open to it. Anyone?
What?
I'm definitely. I don't know. I think they have a Hillsong. Well, no, we can't say Hillsong right now because they acting up. But y'all open to not all of them. Not all of them. Who's open to interracial? Oh, okay.
I mean, I
Your
don't
silence is telling me what I need to
discriminate.
know.
I mean, I don't feel a way about it. I think it's great for, those that those that believe that that is what's for them and that's what God has called them to. I feel like it's amazing. But I've said it before, and I will stand by it, and I really believe. I believe that God did something amazing when He created Black women. I will never ever shy from that. And just personally, I just know what I need. We have a lot of talks in the Black community. Black women have attitudes and all of this and all of that. I believe that a woman, no matter what her color is going to give you exactly what you pour into her. And so if you pour in filth, you're going to get back trash. If you pour in treasure, you're going to get back wealth. And so I believe in the power of the Black woman. And that's what I want by my side personally. But I have no issues with other people that think differently or of a different persuasion. I just know what I will marry. And if God has to hurt my limb, if He has another plan, I guess I'll be limping like Jacob. But that's that. I just don't. I don't see that. I don't see that. I'm sorry. I don't see that.
Okay, praise the Lord. Next. I'm really tickled because you know what? And I'm asking us this because it wasn't too long ago when everyone was in love with Cameron. I'm still in love with Cameron
Right. That's what I'm
Cameron
thinking
from
of.
Love Is Blind, right?
Yeah.
So it's so
It was
amazing
so
how
sweet.
the series of events and the conversation and just the climate of the culture can change because everybody was like, and I'm not speaking, I'm just in general, was like, oh, I could do it, Cameron, because Cameron loved her. Like, I mean, we here at YLC we don't endorse a particular show, so I don't want us to get in trouble. But I'm just saying, like, it was dope. It was dope conversation. So, what you think, Dr. Shonda?
Listen, I don't discriminate, but Black men are just different. I'll say that. So that's what I'm leaning toward. Period. Point blank. But when it comes to actually dating, like I think I probably had the same sentiments of what was the girl's name from that show? Lauren, yes. So like her thing was like, okay, what's gonna happen if I take this white man home, like in my community? Like I'm very active in, social injustice issues. And I feel pretty much the same way. Like I'm pretty vocal about issues and like racial injustices and things of that nature. So how would y'all perceive me? Like if I came home with a Jacob or a Zach?
No, we are not racist people. Don't start holidays and get us in trouble.
Not y'all, but Facebook.
You don't want Cody.
I don't want to.
I'll take a pass to Cody. Don't play with me. Well, Cody.
I don't. Black men are different, though.
But,
they are different.
I said Black men are just different. Like it's just something about like I hate the word swag, but like the way they carry themselves. Like it's just different without even trying. Like that's
My God,
that's my spiel.
But can I say this?
Love is amazing in general, right? The idea of love and two people being in love and wanting to pursue a future, that's amazing, period. No matter what the race, factor is. So I think it just comes down to preference. What we've known, what we've seen, what we enjoy, at the end of the day, what we prefer. And so the idea of, whether it be, a white sister and a Black brother, whatever the case may be, like it's amazing regardless. And I celebrate it. But, for me, and that's not being, anti anything else.
Right.
God really did something. Like I promise you, there is nobody that will push you any further. I believe that in our community, we value the Black woman less than the white man does, because the white man will take a Black woman and put her on a pedestal, whether it be in a job place, whether it be in her family, in his family, whatever the case may be. And I just think that we need to do a better job putting our own Black women on the pedestal, going away from the stereotypes and saying, listen, at the end of the day, this is our most prized possession and we love you. And so that's just what I believe. And that's
so
what
you came to win tonight. You didn't want to die because it's,
Right.
you said.
You
What?
only do.
you ain't want to die tonight. I see you came
No,
with all the
it's the
right
truth. I've said it
words.
before. I've said it
Huh?
before. I've said it before on here. It's the truth. I'm sure we'll disagree at some point tonight. And
No,
you'll
I
let me
agree that
have
we're
it, and it's
adults.
okay.
Yeah, I agree, but I think I'm open. I think for me, because I wonder, like people that are biracial or people who are in interracial, I said that right, relationships, like what is their discussion right now? And I think for me, as long as you're on the side of right, because my personal conviction is that racism is a sin. No, that's the Bible.
Yeah.
Racism is a sin, right? Like
Right.
it's not, and I think that that's the war. We're fighting a demonic force, right? So it's
Mhm.
not about people of color, black people. I said black people because
Mhm.
that's the color we're referencing now. Having the right to due process, not experiencing excessive force with police officers, being valued as human. So I think that as long as I don't know. Now I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
let me tell you this. I will tell you this. One of the things that I really loved about my first husband is that he was very much aware of the oppression of Black people. And, typically, they always say that your children are the race of whatever their father was. But he said, we are going to raise our daughters as Black women. There's, of course, they are mixed, and half the time people don't know what ethnicity they are. Everywhere, in fact, I get lumped in as well. Everywhere we go, it's, what are you? And at some point I got tired of answering that question, and I'd say, I am a person, can you not
Thank
see?
you.
Because
Yes.
it doesn't matter what ethnicity I am, but they're trying to figure
Right.
out, argue, because we, in some crowds we look Hispanic, in some
Mhm.
crowds we look like we're Middle Eastern or whatever. But that is one of the things that I really applauded my husband for, is that he was intent that we would raise our children as Black women, and even more to the extent because there were levels of racism in his family. He had some great grandparents and things like that who were from Germany. So, they already, had that history with Jewish conflict. And so they carried some of those ideologies down into each generation. And
Yeah.
so that's really why I'm kind of so conflicted now, because I know we want to call it a white people thing. I know we want to call it a police thing, but really it's individuals who have been raised a certain way, who have certain things entrenched in their culture and the way they raise their children, who then grow up to occupy these positions of authority and exercise it based on the culture that they've been raised in. I think that's ultimately the systemic problem with racism. It's how you're raised. So he wanted to try to change that tide. And even in some, I love my mother-in-law. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. But we would have certain issues sometimes. I remember when I was pregnant with my first daughter. So my sister is more like Jennifer and Elisha's complexion, right? My sister is very dark.
Chocolate. Okay.
Yeah. So she saw my sister and she thought that I was going to have dark children, and that upset her. She was like, I wanted my grandkids to look like me. Well, sweetie pie, the way genetics work and that little Punnett square works, your grandchildren are going to have some features like yours, but I'm not going to have a dark child with as lily white as your son is and as light skinned as I am. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, but just for her to make that kind of statement, my mama never made that kind of statement, because it wasn't something so prevalent. And so when we raised our children, it wasn't, I'm going to raise them to be the best Black girl or the best white girl or whatever. I'm going to raise them to be children who love God, who are good people, who make a mark on society. So I think those little tiny tendrils of racism is what most people don't understand has the huge impact.
So at what point, because you said that, I have a follow-up question. At what point are we responsible for our own ignorance? because we talked about it being, because I do believe that racism is taught, right?
Mhm.
When we see children play, when we see the innocence, you know, of a child, I don't believe that they are born racist.
Yeah.
They may be a little mean, but I don't think that they are. Kids be bad. I don't think that
Yes.
they intentionally want to mistreat other people because of the
Right.
color of their skin. They may be selfish.
Mhm.
They may not want to share. They may
Mhm.
just want their own toys in their own space. They may not want you around. They may think that you're different, but I truly don't believe that they're born racist. So if they are raised with ignorance, or so many people who are in positions, and even if I'm honest, Black people in their ignorance,
Mhm.
Yeah.
about racial relations, right? At what point are you responsible for your own ignorance? Because I can, you know, I think the issue that I'm having is that people are still saying, like, or we get these apologies from
Right.
who we talk about, like Amy Cooper and all of these different people that say, "Oh, I
Right.
didn't know, I'm sorry," but I mean, we use this internet all the time for a whole lot of different things, for a whole lot of different movements. I mean,
Mhm.
it's we have Google, like we have Siri, ask Siri. Siri will give you
Mhm.
books, like
Mhm.
all types of things. Like, at what point do we are you responsible for your ignorance?
When people
Um.
bring it to you,
Mhm.
when people bring it to your attention, because again, ignorance isn't just, it's literally ignorant. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But when someone brings it to your attention,
Yeah.
then you no longer have that excuse of, oh, I didn't know, or I didn't see it that way, or whatever. No, if I'm bringing it to your attention, and it's like, unfortunately, like, the sad part of today's circumstances is that you have to literally point it out and put a pinpoint laser on it for people to see.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
so unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like my opinion with that is a little different. So I feel like if it gets to the point where somebody has to bring it to you, then that's when it's too late. I feel like we're having too many hashtags. Like, we've had Trayvon Martins, like, go back to 1992 when we had Rodney King. Like, we've had various situations in our community where individuals were treated unjustly and in a very unfair way. And the evidence is right here. So if it's still at the point to where you're not understanding these oppressive systems that are in place in America, then honestly, that's more so a choice that you're making. So, and that goes back to like your racial identity. Are you aware of your race, what that means in America, and how your race may contribute or may be impacted by these oppressive systems? So, yeah, that's my spiel on that. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to wait until somebody brings it to you. It's we have Google, like, we have a lot of resources out there. We have media, Black men being killed on TV. So if you're still confused about race and what that looks like, I would just say open your eyes.
Grandpa, you with us?
Not grandpa. I don't. I just don't. I like what Dana said, and I'm going to have to side with her because there's. I just think it's tough to say one shoe fits all when it comes to
Mhm.
this. And so sometimes, we're talking about hashtags and social media. A lot of people at your local church just got on Facebook.
True.
A lot of
Ooh.
people thought we're not going to go there.
And
The
there's
Saints
also
be on
people
Facebook. No, because the
don't
Saints be on
We're not
Facebook.
going to do that.
Because they
We're
can
not
tell
going to
me
do
what
that.
I posted and they don't follow me. But go ahead.
Period.
We're not
Keep
going to do
going,
that.
keep
We're
going,
not
keep
going to
going.
do that.
Sorry.
I'm being as literal as possible. And so there are some people that are not, like, for example, my father does not do social media at all. He has a phone and he will have it in one spot of the house and forget it's there for days. And so, there are people like that are not, in tune with what's going on in what we call our social media or virtual world. And so I can't hold you to the same standard as I do myself, where I'm always, wherever I am, I have my phone in my hand. And so it can't be one shoe fits everybody. I do believe that once it's called your attention, the way that you respond is where your responsibility kicks in. Because if you don't know, you just don't know. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, you got when you finally do something to me, you finally know. No, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is people are being confronted with decisions daily. We're being confronted with a decision to speak, not to speak. We're being confronted with a decision to turn our face, to pay attention to what's going on. And so when you're confronted with a situation and the eyes are on you, what do? That's when I believe your responsibility finally kicks in. And so
I have a
and
question.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. So you
No,
said that say you don't have social media. So should I charge you for using the N word and you say you don't know because you don't have social media?
no, I wouldn't say that.
And that,
That's
But that's a to me, I believe there's a such thing as respect. And so
mhm.
whether you have social media or not, there are certain things you shouldn't do just out of respect. Like there's a certain way you might not have social media that don't give you the authorization to go around calling women a certain word. That's just not how that happens. There
Mhm.
should be respect. There should be a morality clause. And so whether you know about what's going on social media or not, there's certain things that should never happen. However, they do happen. I'm not excusing that. We were just speaking just in a general way about responsibilities. And
Yeah.
in that general conversation, I just believe that you're responsible when you know and you're approached with a decision. Your choice is your responsibility.
But I feel like even if we take social media out of it, right? So like let's say you do have the grandpa who doesn't have social media. You cannot
Right.
tell me that you haven't had experiences of race throughout early childhood. Like that's anybody in life has these experiences. And I guess that's what my point was. So not necessarily waiting until somebody has to come to you to let you know that what you're doing is wrong. It's more so from an experiential perspective. Like everybody's had these experiences. They contribute to who you are. Your race is a part of your identity. And
Right.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that contributes to a system called historical amnesia, right? So in America, we have this tendency to forget about history. We have a tendency to forget about racial injustices, race, what it means to be black in America, what it means to be white in America. So it's not my responsibility to come to you and explain to you your wrongdoings. It's your responsibility to open up a book and research it.
well, there's that.
Okay, well there's that, right? Well, I guess I think that for me, one size fits most, but I think that what's really important to me is the motive behind
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying, what you're doing, and your heart. I think
Mhm.
that because we are believers, right? Discernment will kind of let us know who just
Mm-hmm.
wants to have pity party tears and who's genuinely sorry for something that they did not know in ignorance.
Mhm.
Dr. Matisa had a really good question,
Yeah,
and
I was going to ask you to get to that. I saw it too.
she said, let me make sure I can find it. When it comes to interracial relationships, how much should you discuss race? And I thought that was really good. How
So
much should you discuss it?
in the beginning, we talked about it because it was the first interracial relationship I'd ever had, and of course, obviously, it was serious because we got married, and but it's kind of like we talked about it a little bit, both because we knew how our parents would react. So I remember. I don't know if I want to say this, but my mom was like, I can't believe you brought home this
Ooh, no, she
boy.
didn't.
She really did. She was like, and I didn't know that it would be that big of an issue for her. So when I did know that it was an issue for her, I then had to discuss like, how brave are you going to be? Like, you're going to extra hard to win my mom over. Let me tell you what. And then, but like throughout the course of our marriage, I don't think we really talked about it much at all. It was like just in those initial phases, it's like, do you have a strong enough constitution to face the world and how they view interracial relationships? Because, and I know my husband had to be very strong because every time we would go out, like all the brothers would be looking him up and down, like, how in the world did he marry her? Kind of thing. And
Wow.
so and then if I went into certain circles, it was kind of like, what is she doing here? Kind of thing. So,
I love the accent.
Give us theater tonight, okay, girl?
I'm from Southern California. And, everybody says I talk with a Valley Girl accent anyway. And I'm like, I don't have an accent. Y'all got an accent. No. But I think it's very important to talk about in the beginning, just to find out if you really do have what it takes and the strength that it takes to shut up, Mark. He said I'm in the flesh, but you really have to have those conversations in order to understand like the dynamics that are controlling your relationships.
Let's go here, right? So we talking about, and we may bounce back and forth to the interracial relationship, but could you date someone? So right now we're at the height of the coronavirus and another virus called racism, right? And there are protests and things like that. How would you handle, since we're single people, if you're the person that you're dating, the person that you're either dating with, say you checking them out on Facebook and y'all been chatting a little bit or whatever the case may be, and they say all lives matter. Is that okay for you? I saw the steam coming out of Dr. Shonda's ears. Would you be able to continue a relationship with that person? Because I think that one of the things that I'm finding in this time, and I think I said this to you guys before we went live, is that we're learning how the people closest to us, not just black and white, it's not just Christian, unchristian. We're finding out what a lot of people think about race relations through their posts, through their conversations and stuff like that. So if you hashtag, like Dr. Shonda has her sweatshirt by her brand says, we have PTSD too. And he'd be like, what you talking about? Y'all ain't going through nothing, How would you, or you say, we're black, we had Blackout Tuesday yesterday, and you name, say their names and you start going through the movement and they're like, all lives matter. How do you proceed?
Dr. Shonda gonna hang up the phone.
Yeah. No, I probably would.
Phone.
I probably, I would stop texting at that point.
What if you're in a relationship?
You can't be pen pals anymore.
I don't know if I could be in a relationship.
Right. I think it lends into the conversation earlier. It lends right back into what we were just talking about. And it's just like given the moment when the eyes are on you to make a statement, to do something, to refrain from saying whatever, given the opportunity to take up responsibility, what are you going to do in this moment? And, for us, I think the climate is so hot right now. We have to be honest. This is one time that there's a series of these things hitting. And usually we're in the middle of life. So we're working, dealing with children for some of us, dealing with family, dealing with jobs and all this other things. And so we've got to like quickly process and keep pushing because we got things happening every day. Right now, culture is on standby. Our world is on standby. And so we have no choice but to deal with what's right in front of us. And so in this climate right now, there is not a lot of room for, in that case, we can call that ignorance, because it's very ignorant to say that because this life right here is literally being distinguished, like is people being killed at crazy rates, to say, oh yeah, but our lives matter too. That's not the issue. The issue is there needs to be some recognition to the problem, and because the climate right now, this problem is like there's an alert, it's emergency alert right now. In this climate, you don't get 2 shots, you get 1 chance. And as soon as you mess up, that's it. And so I think that's where we are. And with that being said, if you mess up, that's it. And I think it's more than just, from a relationship standpoint. I think that's just period. We've been expelling friends. I saw someone say block, delete, unfollow, all of that good stuff. It's happening because this is a climate where there's a picking of sides going on. It's not my side, your side. It's not white side, black side. It's justice, injustice. And this is the time we're finally doing a good job in remaining consistent. And because of that, I think for the most part, you're going to probably be blocked. Your number is probably getting removed. There's not going to be much more conversation there because if you don't care about our
Right.
lives as a whole, how could you possibly care about my life? And then finally, at the end of the day, the life of my family and the family and the posterity I plan to leave on this earth. And so I think it's a no-go. It's absolutely a no-go from the jump.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
for
y'all would break
me,
up. Oh, okay, go ahead.
yes, I mean that's maybe a fleshy answer, but like, yeah, we're done. I said no more pen pals. Like I'm right there with you, sis. We will no longer be pen pals because at the end of the day, that falls in the line of racial invalidation. And if you can invalidate something as
She's
so
so
serious
smart,
as
y'all.
my
She is
race,
like she is
and
everything. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
so
Give us
if
these
you can
vocabulary
invalidate
words.
that, if you can invalidate that, like what else can you invalidate? Will you invalidate my emotions? Will you invalidate, other things that I'm trying to contribute in life? So I feel like that is so insensitive. And no, after that, we're done. No more pen pals.
So
Yeah.
y'all just breaking up with them.
But
We're
here's
good.
even try to make them understand because honestly I've come across that a lot too where some of my friends are like, I see it as a people issue. It's not just a black white issue. And I said, I can understand your perspective on that because you've never been on the other end of it. You have to have that empathy to understand what it's like for someone to literally have the color of their skin be weaponized. And
Mm-hmm.
it's such a foreign concept to you because it has never happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
But for those of us that it has, you have to kind of understand why we're saying that this is where, it's like applying a bandage to the place where you're not bleeding. We're bleeding right here. So and sometimes it's just, I feel like, I guess just because, I've had so many different experiences, I'm not altogether ready to cut people off because there
Mm-hmm.
is, so I think that's how some things get perpetuated because then it
Mm-hmm.
becomes, now you're just the angry black person who doesn't want to tell them anything. Like some people
Mm-hmm.
really just are that dense and you have to take that into consideration.
I wouldn't say that void of conversation. But if you show continuous ignorance, even in conversation, that's where I feel you've earned that block award. I'm not saying you say all lives matter and I go okay bye. No, but I'm saying if I go, you know, this is what's going on right now. There's a fear in my house when I go out until I come back home.
Yeah.
Yes, all lives matter, but I'm fearful for mine daily. Here's why. And if your response is still, well, at the end of the day, God created us all the same, and I have problems too. At that point, I mean, come on, man. I may not even. No, we're not going to be speaking again. That's going to happen, but it's because this is really what you think. This is like you really believe this, and you have no eyesight on what's actually going on. You either don't care, you're either built. I can't take on the responsibility of turning you into a different person. This is who you are. And so at some point, you know, just like I said, I started off with this ties directly into our conversation earlier, is this part right here is your responsibility. Maybe you didn't know. Okay, I'm making you aware now. Now you know, and here's your moment to step up or to remain in that same place. If you remain in that same place, I must keep going and I must leave you in this place because it's just not fair to an entire people.
I don't even think I'm doing all that. I mean, to be honest with you guys, like I think because the emotional bearings that it has had on me, like I just don't have the capacity for that conversation right
Mm-hmm.
now. Like, and it wouldn't even be nothing nasty or you just. I just got to keep moving. Like, cause to me at this point, you know, this isn't the first, the second, or even the third instance. At this point,
Mm-hmm.
it's I just feel like maybe you don't want to be educated, or I think I would be so hurt that I don't
Yeah.
even know. Like I would be too emotionally upset. You know, somebody that and I'm talking about somebody you really feeling, like not people that I feel like Dr. Shonda can cut off people anytime though, but just not
Pretty much.
not somebody that you're just, say we're in a relationship, right? And you really don't get it. Like, I have a problem with you not getting it right now. And I don't know if I can help you, because I just feel like when you say things like that, when we say Black Lives Matter and then you say all lives matter, it's a form of gaslighting. Like, you're trying to manipulate your way. And I don't think people see it like that. Like, you when we try to, I don't see color. Well, why are we all different colors? Like, I just think, like, when we, at this point, at my age and just where we are in society, like, I'm just exhausted. So I just don't know if you're just not the person. I don't think I want to tell you that. Now, prayerfully, I may send you some books. I may send you a link, but I don't know if I'm having that conversation, because I just can't. Like, you really think that we out here saying you don't matter? Like, of course we know that all lives matter. And I think the thing that's really bothering me is that people of other persuasions are really telling the message better than some of the people that look like us. Like, Pastor Carl Lentz has been going. He has been going in. Like, I don't understand why y'all don't get it. Like, to the point that people are turning on him. Like, I don't understand why you don't. We understand that all lives matter, but until they all matter equally, then that's why we're saying Black Lives Matter. Until they all matter in the same respect, then we won't have to. Let us not have to say it anymore.
Right.
Like, so I just think at this point, I don't got it. I don't have it. So are you guys, like, with everything that's going on right now, do you even have the ability to even think about dating, to think about interacting with folks? Like, tell me about your dating life. I need to know. Like, because I'm asking because I found myself, I'm an advocate for singles, right? And I always talk about Christian singles and stuff like that. And I found myself not even, of course, we are on to a bigger picture, right? We're fighting for something. We are collectively praying and strategizing for the bigger picture. But right now, it's like, Lord, I don't even, if you bought him right now, like, real talk, I don't even know if I'm in the position to even accept him, because I don't want to be fearful of what may happen to him. And I'm just keeping it 100. Like, I don't, because Black men, Black people are becoming an endangered species, and people can kill them and not. I'm just being honest about how I feel, and kill them, and, like, sometimes they suffer the consequences, sometimes they don't. Then you have your own community saying, well, what about this fictitious Black on Black crime that doesn't exist? That keeps saying, like, all of this, like, foolishness. Like, I don't even know if I'm in the headspace, like, because I'm gonna be too worried about him right at this moment. Like, I don't. It's a lot. What y'all think? That's just me. I just had to get my little feelings out.
I have to say this. I've been where you are, Jen, because I literally did lose my husband. And I remember initially my plan was, okay, I'm going to mourn 6 months and get back out here and find me another daddy for these babies, right? But that's not what happened, because I realized I kind of pulled back from relationships because I was like, I don't want to fall in love with anybody if they're just going to die or something could just happen or just whatever. So I completely understand being in that space, because I was there for a while, and I really had to take time and really evaluate all of that and then heal from that before I even became receptive to dating again. So I think that's an absolute normal response to feel right now, because it's like, gosh, do I want to invest in caring for someone again when I might lose them?
Yeah.
Like, that's really how I feel. Like, it's just be like, please don't talk to me right now, because I just can't love you. Not in this moment. Maybe, I don't know, I can't love you right now. And y'all know I'm dramatic, but I'm very serious. Like, because there's just so much happening. Like, we're losing people in the protest. Like, people I know we haven't really been getting a whole lot of news on it, but people have been dying protecting their stores and stuff from, looters. That's a whole nother conversation. From, people on the front line. It's just a lot happening. Like,
Yeah.
Like one of my Facebook friends died today. Like it was just like,
Wow.
it's just a lot. Like it's just a lot happening. So I don't know if I have the capacity. Is that I don't know. Do
Yeah.
I want to say that?
I
Yeah.
think that's fair to say. I think that's definitely fair to say. Because Jen, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said it feels like we're going through the stages of grief. And that's exactly what we're collectively experiencing. Like we're going through those phases of denial and anger and all those different stages, right? So when somebody is grieving something, they feel like they're losing something. You don't have enough emotional availability to be able to connect with somebody, to build a relationship. So honestly, I feel like Black people right now, we're in a stage where we're trying to conserve as much emotional energy as possible because it is draining just to wake up every day and have to go to work and fight back tears and hold our tongue and all the things that we need to do. So I don't think that you're alone in that. Me personally, like I don't think I have the emotional energy right now either to date.
Mhm. So I don't know, guys, but I gotta figure it out because if my husband comes, I don't want to miss him because
Don't push him away.
I've been emotionally.
Right,
Don't
right.
push him away.
Don't miss the man of God. Don't miss him.
What
Do
about
not
you,
miss the man
E?
of God.
What about you, E?
I mean,
Are you
I
actively dating now? Because I'm just nosy.
can't. Why are we
Hey,
doing?
nosy,
Why are
choir
we
not
doing this
gonna
in front
know.
of the saints? Why are we doing this in front of the saints?
Mommy,
No, I
That's what the
mean,
show is about.
he
It's not
said
about whether or
what?
not we're
single
dating,
The,
though.
shit.
the show is about being single.
The show is about relationship.
That's not what it is. That is not what it is. It's about being single. It's a single
Oh,
show.
he's dodging the question.
So that's a yes.
It's a single show.
Is
That's
Bay
funny.
watching?
What you say, Jen?
Is Bay
She
watching?
said it's Bay
It's not
watching.
about to single me out. That's not what's about to happen. I'm going to be completely honest. I had when the quarantine thing started. When that quarantine, I don't want to say season, but it is what it is. But when the whole thing came about, I looked at life in general, and I'm just like, what is the point when stuff gets shut down at the drop of a dime, just like this? And I mean, I really sat there. I looked at my business. I looked at, dating life. I looked at a future. I looked at family, and these comments, yes or no. No, I looked at everything, and I'm like, why? Why should we? And then I just start getting smacked by purpose, and that's something that's been kicking real hard for me. Jen, I don't care what face you make. I am not intimidated. You can make any face you want to make. I'm not even a little bit intimidated. I'm okay, and so
That is too funny.
no, and like from a very real place. I'm looking at the world, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm seeing that at whatever capacity God wants to use me at, I'm necessary, right? And purpose is necessary, and I think God calls families, and so even in that, a wife is necessary, and so I'm not about to sit here and say because of the quarantine, I ain't trying to get married. It is what it is, and so if she comes, we gonna ride that thing till the wheels fall off. So that's
Yes or no?
next question. Where's Mark when you need him? Huh? Mark, I need some
The
help.
principal is busy. Yes or no? So that's a no.
He's not busy.
That's hilarious.
I can feel Mark. I can feel Mark even now.
That was weird.
What?
But
I'm saying I can feel him about to boot somebody.
he's not. So are you going to answer the question? Because he wants you to answer the question.
No, he
Choir
doesn't.
want to know.
No,
Are
he
you
doesn't.
dating? Yes or no?
What's dating?
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
So yeah, Jen, you have your answer.
We already did this before.
I don't understand why you just couldn't answer me. So
No.
you're dating someone. You're dating a couple people. Don't drink no water. You're not thirsty. You're not thirsty.
I am
You're
thirsty.
not thirsty. Don't drink no water.
You sound like we're dating right now. That's what it sounds like.
That's hilarious.
Because I don't understand why you just won't answer me. But I guess, see, the people agree with me. Deflection at its best.
Yeah,
Thank
that's exactly what that is.
Like,
Man away, man away, man away,
Madeline is on my side. I'm not sure what he's talking
man
about.
away. You're good
Comment.
people, sir. You're good people, sir.
So
We-
are y'all? Tell me in the comments. Are y'all actively dating? Like, I really want to know. I really
No,
wanna know. Not
Just
you. I'm
no.
just saying in general. I want to know what the people are doing.
that's so funny.
Let's get into some dating questions because I need it for my emotional health. Okay, can we do that?
Yes, let's do that.
All right. So, is it important for you to introduce your pastor to the person that you're dating? Dr. Shonda, this may be tricky for you.
Yeah, I'm thinking that. Like,
and me, I'm a
You a
PK.
PK too?
Yeah.
Daggone PK.
And I serve at my home church, at my dad's church. So yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we're still gonna go with it. Do you introduce your pastor to the person that you're dating?
Yes. For me, it's a yes.
Okay.
And especially with my former pastor, I would actually run certain candidates by him first because I don't want to be guilty of being too, like, I don't want to go all in if it's like, if he knows something about them that I don't know. And it was always important for me. Sometimes he would say, yeah, that's a good match, or nope, I don't know anything about him, or give it 6 months, or, whatever. So I trusted him enough to not be like one of those crazy manipulative pastors that just want to keep all the women single so they could serve in the church. But, because he was very marriage centric. So he wanted everybody to get married, but he also didn't want everybody to get married just to get married. He wanted, there to be a good solid foundation. So I definitely need the input of my spiritual father, advisor, or whatever, because I think that's very, very important.
PKs.
I never really thought about it like that, to where I was introducing him as
Because he's
like
your dad.
my right. So I don't know how to go, but I will say, if I introduce you to my dad, like, then it's real. Like, I know a lot of old school parents do want you to like introduce you to everybody, or whoever you're dating within the first few weeks or months or whatever. And I always remind my parents, like, no, everybody shouldn't have the privilege of meeting you. Like,
Right.
y'all can communicate over the phone if you want. You can do all these things, but face to face, I feel like that's for like we're on the right track. So
Yeah, I agree with her. For me, then not only is that my pastor and spiritual father, but that is my actual, natural father.
Right.
For me, it hits on a whole nother level. Also, for me, culture hits on another level. My family is from Cameroon, Central Africa, and so our culture is a little weird. I don't know how, but African parents expect you to go from graduation to marriage. There's no in between. I don't understand.
They do.
I do not understand it for the life of me. And I think, Africans, I think we need our own dialogue to figure that out. That's a whole pandemic within itself. But I do know that if I introduce you to Pops, like I would probably go mom first, just to be honest. And that will lend into a space of accountability as well. But if you go to Pops, I mean, that means this ring is not, either you already have it or it's close. I mean, real close, next week close. And so that's kind of how I feel about that. The African household is just a tad bit different. The dynamic are a little bit different. And so if you meet Pops outside of church related stuff, like, I mean, I'm thinking last name.
So what happens if they say no? Like, what happens
if they say no to what?
If they don't approve of the person you're dating?
Oh, if the family doesn't approve? I mean, my family kind of knows me to be stubborn a little bit. And so, I mean, it would have to be, I really have to understand intention. Is it no because, you're not used to a certain thing, or like, I really need to understand intention. If it's really from a place of, I don't think this is good for you from a spiritual standpoint, then, we'll have to figure out steps. But for me, I believe that, you know, they put enough in me to make a sound decision. And so while I'm choosing and while I'm picking my choice, that's also not necessarily immediately, but indirectly in line with what I've been taught. And so if I pick someone and you go, no, I mean, you made me, so hey, what are you really saying? And so that's kind of my standpoint on that is, um, I'm the way I'm living my life and the way I do certain things and the way I am going to choose and things of that nature are directly from the teachings and the things that I've learned, the rebuke I've been given over years. And so I'm coming from a place of leadership, even in those things. And so I don't know if that will happen, but if it did, I would just be worried about intention. Um, just a little bit more on our culture. We're like Africans are weird. Like I don't know why everything that's
Stop
not
saying
African.
that.
No, everything that's not African is weird to
Because I'm
Africans.
waiting for my Nigerian prince to come. Do I want Nigeria? Yeah, I think I want my Nigerian prince to come and find me.
See, there's a
Yep.
lot to unpack
I'm
there.
really controlling, Jen. You gonna, I
There's
don't
so
know.
much. It's
I had.
interesting to me that you would pick Nigerian, but I'm not surprised.
What does that mean?
There,
Why?
there's a whole lot to unpack there, and I don't think this is the time or the place.
Where are you going? I fed you
No, I had
yesterday.
a. Let me tell
Fact,
you. When I was in
fact.
college, the Christian man that was Nigerian was so fine, and I feel like I was so mean and just. I could have been married. I could be well, anyway. So, sorry. I just so if your pastor said no, Dana, what would you do? Like if he was like, you go
My
ahead and
pastor
you.
has said no, and I listened to him, and I'm very grateful that I did.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, but the thing about his counsel is that it was just confirmation of what I was feeling already.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that he told me, he's like, no, I don't think he would be faithful to you. I said, yeah, I kind of get that feeling too. And so it was really more confirmation because again, I'm not, this 19, 20-year-old who's never been in any kind of relationship. Like I have kids now. So my relationship choices are a lot different because the person that I was at, 20 is not the person I was when I was 30, is not the person I am at 40. So my decisions are different. And especially early on when I did, when I really was actively dating, before I really allowed myself time to heal, I didn't even trust my decisions at that time because I knew where I was in the process. So even now, when there's people that I'm thinking about, like, I run those decisions, just like we have those discussions. But ultimately, I still feel like it's my choice and I have to live with whatever choice I make.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put that on him either. You know what I mean? Like you can't put that responsibility of relationship on someone else. It's like, man, he told me I shouldn't have married him. Well, the thing is you have to deal with your choices. And it's all about making those relationships work and whether or not you're willing to deal with the consequences of the choices that you make.
Yeah.
Dad says no, Dr. Shonda. What's up?
So I never really had that happen to me before. Like, well, my parents only met like one guy. I really only been in one serious relationship. So they never like
Because she's a
had
pen
to
pal.
period.
Y'all gonna leave my sister alone. She just told y'all she don't have time, okay?
Oh my God.
But no, so I never had that happen before. But my dad isn't the type of person that'll be like, oh, I just don't like him. You need to stop dating him. Like if he says, he's discerning something, I'm gonna listen to him. The man of God has a prayer life, so I'm gonna definitely listen to him.
I think for me, I'm going with that too because, first of all, for you to even get invited to my church is a lot. Like,
yes,
I had a whole boyfriend in college. My parents don't know who that man was. Like, it's just I do not. I believe in sacred circles, and I'm just not going to be embarrassed. Like I knew he was raggedy,
right.
so we were going to be raggedy at college. He was not going to be raggedy at my church. He was not going to be raggedy at my parents' house. He was not going to be raggedy at those places. So because I knew he was raggedy, there was what was the point of an invitation? You're not going to be here for the rest of my life. Like I'm in college. Like no. So because I think it's almost disrespectful to bring the people that you bring home someone that you really can't contend for, like around the people that you love. Like I believe in
Yeah.
my sacred space, my church house. You know, you're not
Yes.
going to know important places unless you're important.
Yeah.
So for you to come to church, y'all know how it is at the Black church. Like especially if you don't go to a mega church, you didn't bring somebody to church. First of all, the whole church turns to you when y'all walk in together.
Facts.
Like you got to go through all of that.
Yep.
All of these fake whispers, all these
Yeah.
fake turning around like they looking for the usher when they not. They looking y'all face, trying to see how close y'all sitting together and all of these different
Right.
That's
things.
hilarious.
So I'm just not. And then
So
if I, go ahead.
I just think it's so funny because I'm actually the opposite. I bring everybody to church because this is what I figured out. Usually, I don't know, maybe this is a horrible evangelism strategy, but like, if you like me and I figure out like we're not on the same like wavelength or whatever, I figure the reason that the Lord introduced us or had us connect is because He wants you to get saved. So you just need some more truth. You need the Holy Ghost. You need something. So I bring all of them to church. So, but you know, the thing is, like, even when you bring them to church and you know, I know that it's strictly for evangelism or whatever, people still do that. They're like, oh, he's fine, blah, blah, blah. No, baby, he's here for another reason. He needs some Jesus. And then too, I figure like, even if you're trying to date me and like I bring you to Jesus and it turns out you don't really love Jesus, well, then that's okay. But you know, one way you have to figure out if you love me or you love Jesus and you'll still stay, or you didn't love Jesus and you don't love me, so you can go.
God bless you, Sister Dana. They're not coming to my church house. You got to go find that on your own. Like, you got to go find that on your own. This is my place of comfort. These people have been knowing me my whole life. You know what I got to deal with?
Oh,
Where is that
man.
Brian? Where is he at? You, that man, you put him, you know, the church mothers. Then
Yeah.
my
Right.
folks. It's just so much. Like, I'm just,
Right.
no, you got to evangelize at a big church. Now, if I just want to know,
Yes.
I'm going to take you, where y'all, you in Atlanta. Let me go to New Birth. Nobody know us there. Come on, let's go there. Like we could go and see.
That's
But you're
hilarious.
not coming to my family church. And
Mm-mm.
oh no, I'm not able. I am not. I am unable. Somebody said I want to respond in the comments because somebody said something like, "If he not light skinned and he no," somebody
Mhm.
asked me if he was not Nigerian, but he was light skinned, would I accept him? Hello, yes, like,
I did.
hello, yes, like, absolutely yes. The comment left me, but absolutely yes. That's actually okay. Oh, here we go. So, Jen, are you only into Nigerians to where if your promise came by as a light skinned man, you wouldn't entertain him? Let me tell you how. Where's the principal? Is he available? Because I don't want him to get. You know, the Lord has delivered me from light skinned men with beards. Okay, them big ugly light
Oh
skinned
my
men
God.
with beards. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. So I'm just saying, all things are possible through Jesus Christ. All things
That
are possible.
is hilarious.
All things are possible. All things are possible.
To
So
them
how
that
long?
believe.
So would you, if you are dating someone? So Dana, you brought them to church, and y'all were together, and you break up. Well, this is for anyone. Would you still like? How do you date and your ex goes to your church?
This is why I always say that it's important for you to date in a way that leaves people better off for knowing you than you know, just being completely selfish. Like, you have to think about that, because I have seen so many times in so many, you know, relationships where, you know, Susie choir director and, you know, drummer boy are dating.
Mm-hmm.
They have a bad breakup, and now y'all don't mess up Sunday school and the worship team because you got an attitude every time she come in. Like, you know, I think it's important how you carry yourself in a relationship. And you have to think about, I think it goes to speaking about relationship and dating in general. When you think about the purpose of your relationship, if you recognize I'm Sister Sunday School and he's Brother Drummer, what might God do with that relationship? How does he want to use our particular relationship in order to fulfill a specific purpose, either for our church, the ministry, you know, what kind of things would happen? And too many times I've seen people leave a church because the relationship went sour. Or if they stay in the church, they're so hostile. I'm like, how do you even say this is the person that you used to love? Y'all was all posted up
Right.
on Facebook
Right.
for everything you little did. This is my boo boo, my sugar snookums, whatever. And now all of a sudden you can't stand them anymore. You know, where did that disconnect take place? So I think it has to be handled in a way where you have to take rejection, if you will, with grace, because for whatever reason, and you guys really have to work on communicating and making sure that you have exhausted all the possibilities of communication, to really make sure that you're okay with one another, so that, you know, whatever you do from that point forward doesn't jeopardize other relationships in church too. Because, you know, then you have factions where they want to side with you because he did you dirty or whatever, and or you know what I mean, and it just creates so many problems.
Yep.
Anybody else?
The content, like that's a great, like that's perfectly put, Dana. The content of a relationship and how you end it. I think, I don't know if it's just our generation, but I can just speak for what I see. Many people just can't end a relationship and be on good terms. Most people have to, you know, I've got to hate you in order to move on. I've got to create this element of, you know, you were wrong for this and that or the other thing. And so there's almost like an animus kind of feel to that dynamic. And that's almost become very natural for our relationships. We don't just date and then move on. We date and then it's usually a rift. And so the relationship is completely torn. And if it's not us hating each other, we don't like each other, we don't speak, or whatever the case may be, and that's just not healthy. And then it really wreaks havoc when I've got to walk into the church house, like Jen said, that safe space, the place where I go to get more of God, and now I have to encounter that same animus type of feel. There's a lot of things to be changed there. Of course, like if you're in a relationship and someone is cheating, that doesn't really help it either. So there's a healthy way to go about the relationship and to end relationships, depending on, you know, where it's going or where it's not going. And I think if those things are adjusted, then the dynamic in church would be better. But because we just do whatever, whenever, and we don't really hold ourselves accountable, we don't really, you know, it's a whole mess. And so when you bring that into the church house becomes a mess. And so that's always a very, very weird dynamic. But it just boils down to doing things the right way. If you're going to be in a relationship, you know, be in it for the right reasons, do things the right way. And if it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. End it the right way. And you should still be able to have a conversation. Even the ones that have went as far goes, the thing about it is, the truth of the matter is, if I ever said I love you, you should always have some kind of love for this person. Like the idea of love is very powerful. There's no way you say that you love someone today and tomorrow, if you hate them tomorrow, your hate is only love turned the opposite way. Your hate is that same love that you've harbored into a different feeling towards this person. And so there just has to be a healthier way of moving on. And perhaps, you know, the church, our communities like this, can build better platforms to show this is the right way to go about things, so that we don't have so much mess in our, you know, religious communities.
Dr. Shonda?
I feel like y'all's answers were so spiritually sound and eloquent, and I really love y'all for that. Because first of all, I've never dated in my church, and I don't plan to. So I do not plan to, so I will not have those problems. Thanks. Next question.
I think it depends. For me, it depends on, did we both start at the church, or did you come to my church because we were, you know, or did I go to your church? Like, y'all are just way too mature for me, because the answer is no. Like,
it's beautiful though. It's beautiful.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, I'm speaking more so generally. because the truth of the matter is I will never date at my church. That's just not going to happen. And then I'm not bringing you into the church dynamic either. Now, it's just going to be very weird if all of a sudden you just felt impressed upon your spirit to leave this church that you've been at forever and come to my church. This
But
is
people
just
do it all the time.
no, I really get it. I
For
haven't
somebody
experienced it and I haven't seen it, but I do not intend to be in that number. But if I was, the truth of the matter, like people, whoever, if I've talked to whoever, I can have a conversation with them now. I don't create a vibe, or I don't let a vibe happen to where I've got to hate a person or somebody's got to hate me. I believe you treat people right. And if you treat people right, you should always be able to, at the very least, have a conversation. When did we turn into uncivil people where we can't be in the same space at the same time? Just because we used to date, that just doesn't make sense to me. And so I'm not even being deep. I'm being real. It's the fact that if I cared, we might have moved on from being in a certain space, but I'll always care. I will always make sure you're okay. We're just not going in a certain direction. And so I feel like there needs to be a maturity that comes to the way that we present ourselves. That's just how I feel. That's just how I feel.
Brianna, I'm not that mature either. Like, and I say that from a place like, I don't have to hate you, but first of all, I'm not even friends with my exes, so maybe that's y'all. Like, I just don't want. It is not hate. Like, it's not. I don't wish any ill thing on them, but it's a no for me, dog. Like, it's just
Right.
because I think just trying to move forward, the healing, because the reality is, Elisha was so deep. Because if I love you and I still care, first of all, I'm hurt. You a dog. Like, no, you're not a dog. Like, I'm trying not to go off on you. I'm trying to get my praise on. Like,
right. Like,
you got your hands up. Your hands are dirty because you are dirty. Like,
So that's no, but look, that's my thing. The content, that's my thing. The content of our relationship is it's created a bad feel for who you are to me. And that's what I don't believe in. I believe that if you're going to get in a relationship, if you're going to be with somebody, treat them right. And so even in talking, I've never seen anyone just dog me out, and I've never dogged out anybody else. And so I can't speak from a place of, oh my God, you're this and this and that and the third. I can't even believe you're here right now. No, it's always going to be love because that's all that was shown. It's just at the end of the day, we weren't going to a certain space. So that's why, one of my comments was the content of relationship has to be better. We just and of course this is mainly the men, women cheat too, whatever, but of course we get caught for it the most. As a guy, you just have to do the right thing. There is no reason to tarnish the way somebody feels, tarnish their emotions, break them, break their spirits. Now you're saying this like you got to go through a whole recovery after this relationship, and I don't believe in it. Yes, but I'm saying I don't think that's a healthy way to go about relationships. You should be able to.
But Elisha, you honestly do have to go through a recovery because again, it goes back to that grief thing. If you date with the best intentions, the fact of the matter is that one of you really saw this relationship going all the way to the altar and through, till death do us part.
Sure.
So anytime a relationship breaks up, whether it's good or bad, you still are mourning the loss of your future, the future that you envision for one another.
And so for me, I think it's
the thing is, I'm talking to her. I have the senator from Atlanta has the no. So you made me lose my train of thought. But that's why it's so important to communicate. And again, in your context of I love this person, I'm going to love them through until they're okay. So even if, and I can use my ex-husband as an example, in our case, our relationship did not work and we did go to the same church. And after a certain portion, he stopped going there for whatever reasons. But, to this day, I still call him, text him, or whatever. We're on good terms. Not like, hey, bud, how are you going or whatever, but it's a happy birthday, happy Father's Day, whatever. So it's amicable. And it was difficult. I'm not saying that any of that is easy, but if we're going to be Christians, and this is the thing, I always say this, we're going to work on 2 relationships for the rest of our lives. We're going to work on perfecting our relationship with the Lord, and we're going to work on perfecting our relationships with one another. And this is one of those areas that really needs to be addressed, because you do have so many people passing each other around in a church, going to their congregations. And literally that's why you have all these factions and why you can't seem to get certain things together, because we're not handling our relationships properly. We're not looking at them in the right context. We're not having enough conversations or, discussions about, well, what's going to make you okay when I do this? No, you just show up with a new girl, then I'm mad, like, why you bring her to my church, kind of thing. As opposed to like really reconciling the fact, okay, this is why we did not work. This is why we could not work in the future or whatever, and really taking that time. But then you also have to allow that person the time to heal and to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, do we, and y'all can chime in on, whatever piece you want to chime in on, but do we really have those healthy conversations as to why the relationship ended, or does it just break up and then we're expected to move forward?
I think we have a lot of breakups with the expectation to just move on.
Yeah, and I think that for me, being amicable doesn't mean that I have to welcome you in my space. I don't think that one of my favorite shows for relationship context, I'm not really going to promote it because it's not, but they, this episode on Sunday, they had a real conversation of why they broke up. They were together 5 years. She cheated, things happened, and this episode, almost the 3 seasons later, after their breakup, they're finally, they done been with other people, they've tried to move on. She was even having some type of business relationship with someone that he was dating, trying to force herself to kind of work it through. And I think that as adults, not even just as adults, as people, like, do we have those honest conversations? Like, is there really a space for that? Because for me, and I think not just being funny, but for me, that would be hard for me to just be like, oh, I've always had love for you. It's cool. I don't feel no type of way, blah, blah, blah. And I was really being honest, because when I love hard. Like, I'm passionate about everything. So if I loved you and I really thought that because we're Christian dating, right? We're dating with a purpose. We're dating with, most of us with marriage in view, right? So if I really loved you, like, and I really saw you as a part of my future, us breaking up and moving forward, and me just moving forward like you don't exist, or trying to force that, trying to force a fake smile when I really feel some type of way, like, that's why it would be hard for me. Now, would I dishonor you? Would I disrespect you? Nah, like, I'm not that type of person, but I'm not gonna be acting like I don't feel no type. Sit over there, sit behind me. I don't want to see you. Like, I'm just sit. Like, I'm just being real honest, because if I loved you, I loved you. Like, I loved you. And that means that, and especially if I told people about it, if we were open, like, I loved you for real. And I don't know if we really had those conversations about, like, how do we move forward? And because I'm not friends with my exes. I'm not really interested in us being friends. Simply because that's not where we started. So I think it'll be different if I started as a friend, we started dating, and then it didn't work with something. Maybe I would try to recoup that relationship. But if you approached me and we started, the goal was romance, and romance didn't last, you're going to leave when the romance left. Like,
I'm not. I don't think there's a diffusion of that. I think, and you really just hit it on the nail to me, is it can't just be like, yeah, this is over, okay, bye, cool. No, it definitely has to be, conversation. I think one of the first things doctor would let us know is, in order for us to grieve, we have to first know what we're grieving about. And so that conversation is a necessity. And in that conversation, I believe things like the church. For us that believe in our church bodies and things of that nature, I believe that right in that area is where we go, well, this was my zone. I welcomed you into my zone, and I need to go back here. And a part of me going back there is now me being a part of my healing process. I would really rather not be in my like. I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. I don't think you go to being best friends. All I'm saying is we shouldn't be,
Enemies.
oh my God,
Yeah.
go again. That's all I'm
No, I'm
saying.
probably gonna be like that for the 1st couple months. Just all.
And I don't know if there's a problem with that because you're gonna feel how you feel. I can't dictate. Like once again, one shoe does not fit all. But I just know that at the end of the day, in a healed situation, I feel like we should all be able to and I'm saying at the very least, have a conversation. You don't gotta give me a hug and kiss me on both cheeks, but it should at least it should at least be a conversation that can be had sensibly. And I think even and I mean, Jen, you're gonna have to be mad at me, but I think even afterwards, because I believe even if that person didn't work out for you, maybe they have something for your brand that will take you to the next level.
No.
I'm not going to miss
I don't
out.
need it.
I'm breaking up with everybody.
Like, no, we don't.
Leave me on my
No
brand.
time.
I don't need it. I'm good.
To live off me? Absolutely.
No. I didn't say live up. I said maybe they have something for your brand. Maybe
Mm-mm.
I'm.
The Lord is a provider. I'm good.
I get it. No, I mean, I really when I'm looking at
I'm
the
getting
table,
strong because
I'm looking at the table and I get it. But I'm just saying, like for me, it's so much more than just I'm hurt or this happened or whatever the case may be. There is a whole lot of other elements to that. Maybe you lost sight of what God actually sent this person for. Now you get to miss out on everything because you're just so hurt. You're just gonna have to be hurt. But I just feel like,
but I think if you're an assignment, you're an assignment. If you were my partner,
but
you were my partner.
in real time, we mistaken the two all the time. We have to be real. In real life, we mistaken that a lot. It's not like we just be like, yeah, that's an assignment. I'm just gonna leave that as an assignment. No, it's sometimes it's an assignment and she's fine. It's the truth of the matter. And so we've got to understand, you know, you go case by case. You go by what actually happened as well. And then of course there are petty people. There are people that do things in just the wrong way. But I mean, I just feel like there's a
and that's what we really want to avoid. We just want to avoid the petty people doing things the wrong way. Now, of course, if you try, yeah, that's the thing. You don't now, you don't want to, and that kind of goes back to what I said before, is dating with integrity. And that doesn't only mean, the sexual part. That means dating in a way that leaves them better off for having known you, that you have brought out something in them that they didn't see about themselves before, or they have enhanced something about your life, so that when you do part ways, yes, you're grieving that, okay, this didn't work out, even though we could have done, we could have been something, whatever. But having been with him, I did grow a little bit more patient. I did become a little less selfish. He did help me unpack some things from my past. So I guess the encounter with him wasn't all bad.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. If we can work towards, now I'm not saying not saying it's easy.
Right.
But if you can keep that in the back of your mind and celebrate more of the good parts of whatever relationship you all had, and you can see ways that you improved his life and she improved yours, or whatever the dynamics of the relationship are, that should be our goal. So that because here's the thing, I don't want to leave a string of people, that I have wrecked. I don't want to hurt people like that. So I'm going to try to do everything I can to reconcile relationships like that. And I believe you reap what you sow, because that's what the word says. So if I'm going to go into relationships with that in mind, I'm going to believe that I'll reap that in relationships as well.
Y'all real safe. I'm not there yet.
Yes.
No, I think that's good. Like, I've been taking inventory once they're gone. Bambi from YouTube, she shares my exact sentiment. She said, when we break up, your mama, your sister, the church, the house, the car, it's gone. Is that
everybody?
Mother telling her no happy birthday? When we break up, your mama, mama, your sister, your cousin break up, everything. Give me my church back.
That's not in question. That's
Live
not
your
in
life.
question. That's my family. That's not in question at all. That's
Yeah,
not.
I'm just saying,
That's
you
not at
know,
all.
I'm not calling her,
No,
telling her happy
that's
birthday.
hilarious.
I may like a picture or two on Facebook, but other than that, like I don't be keeping
Not even
on.
a happy birthday.
No, she knows her birthday is happy.
I've done that.
She doesn't need me, so I was just like, I'm clouded. But I just, and I don't think you have to wish, you know, harm. But I'm not, you know, and I haven't had that many exes, so I just, God bless you over there. Like I just, you know.
You
Right.
go there.
Somebody had a comment, and I wanted to. So Brian said, "So is the perspective the same if you are the person that broke up with the other? Could the person that initiated the breakup feel it's cool, but the other person doesn't?"
Yeah, I think that's the instance that we're talking about, because obviously,
Yeah.
you know, if you're the person who's not cool with it, of course you're the one who's going to need the time to, you know, not be angry anymore and not be sensitive about it. Because then too, if I'm the dump E for all you know sense of terms, I don't want to go into a place of worship where I'm supposed to be happy and feel the presence of the Lord, knowing I'm mad and angry. Like I can't worship that way. I can't pray that way. I can't, you know, whatever. So I think we're talking about this in the context of the person who did not want the breakup. Like you have to be a little extra considerate of their feelings. You have to give them a little bit extra time to, you know, accept the change of their future plans.
Yep.
And I think that.
Go ahead, doctor.
Oh, I think that goes back to what you were saying, Elisha. So you have to be in that healed space to be able to have that conversation, right? So if you know, it's days after the breakup, you guys both still have some pretty sensitive emotions. So I can't see the conversation going too well and it being effective or productive. So I'm thinking that time, you know, whether that's a month or a year or whatever you need, in order for both parties to be in a healed space, and then you guys can communicate. I think that would be more productive. But I think the healing process is key here.
Constant communication can be easily mistaken for an open door. Discerning few.
That's good.
What y'all think about that? That's how I feel. I be closing the door.
That's
Do you
good.
hear me?
Right.
Like, please don't be in the way of my husband. I don't have time. We're not friends. No friends. What?
That's good, but here that too is where you set boundaries as well, because she's absolutely right. You know, some people can perceive, you know, the communication as, oh well, maybe there's a chance. No, baby, there's no chance. And especially with women, once we've shut the door to our hearts, that's it. There's no.
You're bro.
Bro, oh my.
You're bro.
Let me tell you. Sometimes you gotta throw out a bro to remind you.
Right? Come to my church if you want to. Hey, bro, how you doing?
Mr. Martin says, my ex is not my enemy. When I had a conversation and she said what I needed to, what she needed, when I had the conversation and said what I needed to say, I wished her a nice life and was done. God bless you. That was good. Okay.
I feel like I probably had the same.
I don't know, because I be really.
It might be easier for men to move on like that too, because you know we internalize everything and we hold on to things a little bit longer than guys. So for guys, you know, it may be easier for them to move on and stuff. But I think for us, we just takes a little bit
move on quicker.
Sometimes, well, yeah, I don't know.
I'm about to say, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm acting crazy now. That one that broke their heart got them broken forever, Lord Jesus.
This true. It's true.
That's a good one, Ayana. Can you heal without the conversation?
I think you don't.
Yes, you can.
Have a choice but to heal without. If you don't have this conversation, that's not an option.
That's like write them a letter. You write all the letter. You mail it to your pen pal, and then they'll be healed.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's bring the real in. Is the fact that honestly, nobody really owes you anything. So it's not like you're owed a conversation. Now, would it be nice from a I think as humans, do we treat each other as we should? Probably not. But would that conversation be nice? Absolutely. But can you sit there and go, you owe me this? No, not really. But you do owe yourself that process of healing with or without the conversation. Does the conversation help? Absolutely. But if you don't get no conversation, you better get healed, or you really might miss who was meant for you.
True.
Sometimes I don't know if some of us need the conversation, because I think that sometimes if we had that closing conversation, it would never close. Like, it would always be like, but what if this? Or but what if that? Like, I don't.
That goes to what you just said. Speaking about boundaries. I when you go into the conversation, you should always have what's happened in your front view mirror. There's a reason why you're walking, and you should always remember that reason why you're walking. Now, this conversation right here it should be verifying why I'm walking. We don't need to be talking about how good I smell. We don't need to be talking about this haircut looks good, your hair looks nice. No, this conversation needs to be what happened, what went wrong, and
but
how.
what went wrong. That's why we broke up. Did we talk about that?
Okay, so if that's the case, and you clearly don't need a conversation, don't have one. If that's the case for you, just walk away.
Because when we get those low tones, and I just things lately, they really haven't been. And I point my case out, you point your case out, and I just say, I think we just should possibly go our own way. Conversation. Like, I don't. What else could we?
But you know what, Jen, you just said something important, because I don't think a lot of people have those conversations. In fact, I know a lot of people don't have those conversations, because those are the same people that I've seen, not getting along in worship and all that kind of stuff, and just having crazy things going on. Or someone ends up leaving the church because they didn't sit down and have those conversations as to, it's almost like someone gets spooked, they pull back, and the other person is left holding the bag, like not really knowing why the relationship isn't moving forward. I've seen that a lot.
I feel like so similar to like one of the comments that I saw. So healing is your personal responsibility. So you cannot allow a conversation or what didn't happen or what did happen between your ex to be the end all be all. So that's between you and Jesus. So personally, I feel like I had Issa and Lawrence experience where it was years after my ex and I had spoken, and then we got to a place where we can like talk about things and like hash out situations, and that's what closed the door. But I didn't rely on him for my healing. My healing came through my prayer closet. So I feel like a lot of times we rely on other people for our healing, and they should apologize and they should do the work when the responsibility is yours. Use that well that's on the inside of you, sis. Like, it's there for a reason.
Come on now.
Y'all just get I love it. I like Christian dating because y'all get deep at any point in time. Y'all can go off. Y'all go off.
Any point.
At any time it's a sermon. At any time it's a message. She said use that well. It within. Reach on the inside of you and pull on your Holy Ghost. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Get in your prayer closet. So I think we're almost done. Anybody else got anything to say? I'm just really focused on these breakup conversations because
they're hard to have.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about what you said. Like, do we break up the right way? Like, do we? I don't know. Because I
don't think we do. I don't think we do.
I agree.
I think it's like I've seen it too many times. It's like I said, somebody gets spooked in the relationship, and all of a sudden, you're closed off, you shut down or whatever, and your partner's left wondering what went wrong.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think it's because we're not well versed enough to really articulate what we're feeling.
That's true. What if you don't know how you feel at that time? Like, it's just a lot of different emotions. Hey, Chanel. So, guys, that's not Dr. Shonda in the comments. That is her twin sister. She has a twin sister that looks just like her. I do think we have to do a better job of handling each other. I think Elijah said that. Elisha said that earlier, but I do think that we have to know our boundaries The most difficult conversation. Ooh, okay. I gotta find myself. The most difficult conversations are the best ones to have. The conversations that are hard to have are the ones you should run to. That's true. That's true. That's true. Some people don't. Some people even break up by simply ghosting. Do Christians ghost people? Y'all be
Do the
ghosting?
Christians ghost?
I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure it happens.
And not just the Holy Ghost here.
I'm sure. I'm sure it
This
happens.
is
I'm sure.
accent, huh?
Yes.
I don't really.
I'm sure.
You be ghost. Y'all be ghosting people.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, her relationship
like-
is a ghost relationship to begin with. You're gonna talk one time a week for 5 minutes.
Right, just stop texting.
She's been a ghost the whole time.
My whole life.
She has
My whole
already
life.
been a ghost. She's been a ghost. She just made it
Mm.
official. She's been a
That's
ghost.
right.
No, I mean,
But
Ghosting is disrespectful.
it really is.
okay.
ghosting is extremely immature. Extremely.
Like,
Maybe
really?
it is, but I just feel like if it's not going anywhere, if you what you doing me all day, like I'm not gonna text you back. Like you're gonna get ghosted. Like maybe some see it as disrespectful.
It
But yeah,
is.
that's just okay.
I think it depends on context.
It's better to simply say, I do not like you, Sam. I do not like green eggs
I've
and
never
ham.
done that. I've never
It
done.
doesn't
I
even
guess
need to
I
be a
have this fear of like
conversation. It
hurting
can be a
people's
message.
feelings.
It's more hurtful to ignore them than to simply say, I do not like you. I do not want to be with you.
I see what you're saying there, Dana. So,
There's
yeah.
healing taking place even now.
Had sex before marriage. Real talk, baby.
There's
Yeah, that's
healing.
true.
There's healing taking place even now.
I don't know if I agree with this. I think that we can handle it better ways, but I think it depends. For me, I think it depends on context. I think that we are people of entitlement, and I don't think that I owe you anything if we're not in a relationship together. Like, I pay this bill. Like, you're not gonna force me to talk to you. Like,
oh my God.
I don't.
But just common decency.
Oh my
Just
goodness.
like.
I cannot tell
So
you.
what? Okay, so we got a little bit of time. What is ghosting? Let's talk about. Let's go there. What is ghosting?
It's what the doc just said. You just disappear.
Pretty much done. Like
Yeah,
we're
you disappear.
you disappear.
Yeah,
We're done communicating.
You're tomorrow, and no explanation. Just gone. It's ghosting.
Yes, ghosting does have to have proper context. Right.
That's how I feel.
So
like, I feel like that. Like,
yeah.
I feel like if, for example, let's use this example. You started DMing me on Facebook or Instagram. You reached out. I said hello. We talked a little bit. You know how you don't. You know, first of all, we're going to talk about the Men of God's conversation piece another day because I don't have enough hours for that and the lack thereof. So what you're doing me, hey beautiful, me to death. You know, you may say something, you know, a little whatever, and then I just decided you keep reaching out, and I just decided I don't want to respond anymore. To me, I don't know if that's ghosting. Like,
I don't think that's ghosting.
That's not what ghosting is.
Yeah, like, I don't think that's ghosting. Right?
No.
So y'all explain ghosting then.
If you've already said, oh, and this is my typical, you know, like, oh, God bless you, that's so sweet, and we're done, you know, whatever. Like, I'm not entertaining your whatever, just like, you know. But then if they keep being persistent, and I've had someone who is like persistent, like, and I've had people, because, you know, I'm a singles director and I do singles activities, and I've had people say, you know, oh, I want to be a part of the singles ministry, but only if I can date you. And I was like, no, sweetie pie, you need to be a part of singles ministry so you can find the person who's right for you, because that's not an option. Like that, you know, that's just the thing. But if they then become persistent, well, then now because I've already said I'm not interested or whatever. I've made that, I've answered your initial whatever. After that, then you're just being disrespectful because you're not respecting my boundaries. You're not respecting my answer. And you're telling me I'm not smart enough to make a decision not to be with you. Wow. So
Yeah, I don't
And
think
they
that's
don't
ghosting.
realize that
You
that's
told them
culture.
no.
They think it's just them being persistent. And
Right.
if I listen
That's
to everybody who told me, oh, the Lord said you're my wife, I would have, 25 husbands right now. I was like, really? The Lord told you that? Because I ain't heard none of that.
Right.
And I
Right.
talk to him every day. I talk to him every day. And I ain't heard that. So, you have to be careful. But like, I feel like once I have given you that response and you keep pushing, that's different. But if you ask me and I've never responded to you or affirmative or in the negative, either way, that's rude. Or if I just don't like you and I'm ignoring you, that's rude. That's just rude. Because imagine if someone, just, it's almost like when you like pass somebody on the street and you say, hey, how are you doing? And they just keep walking like they didn't hear you.
Right.
Like, oh, great. You would think that person is rude, right? Because they're just trying to engage with a greeting. It's polite to respond.
So you're
So
saying
I'll do that. So I'll
You're
respond to
rude,
you.
Dr. Shonda. You're rude.
But look. Okay. So my perspective of ghosting is if you're having conversation and then like it eventually kind of dwindles and then like you just stop texting. That's what I define as ghosting. And sometimes I do that. So maybe that's rude too, but
I mean,
all
I
right,
would
I'm
say
done. I'm gonna turn my camera off.
ghosting is where you.
so they be like,
You know what?
are you there? Are you
Not are
there?
you there? Oh
They're
my
like,
goodness.
hi, good morning, beautiful. And you just be like,
Right, like
I think
is that
ghosting is
me?
definitely when there's already been something that's established, and then you disappear from an established situation. Sometimes this is YLC, but sometimes, many times, especially in church and outside of church, that establishment sometimes involves the activity of sex. You've been biting that apple you've been taking of that tree that's not yours, and then all of a sudden you're not interested anymore. That is what I would call, ghost. You
Right.
established something, and then you decided that I'm no longer interested, but I don't owe you an explanation. Of course, this happens mostly with guys. We are mostly the ones to go about this. Sometimes, we'll be in it, and I'm not talking about me, but I am speaking about, our clan of guys. We'll be, in pursuit, and then the young man will get that body, and then after he does, ghost. That's the whole idea of ghosting. Now, if I'm not interested and I don't respond, or I respond and I let you know, and you keep on hitting me, that's not ghosting. That's just somebody that's just overzealous. You've now become a DM warrior. There's a difference between that and having established something and then being like, I'm gonna walk away and I don't owe you an explanation. So I think that's what ghosting is.
ghosting is you talk to someone consistently for over, let's say, a month, text, calls, FaceTime, and then one day you reach out to them per usual and you get nothing back. And you know that they're not dead and they didn't fall off the face of the earth. They're still posting on social media, then that's ghosting.
That is a
I agree with
perfect
that.
definition. I love
That's
it.
it.
Okay.
That's it.
That's what you be doing, Dr. Shonda?
Perfect.
Oh my God.
Like, oh,
I mean,
she's like,
and
oh,
I did see a comment from my sister. Chanel said, I don't like confrontation. And first of all, Chanel, nobody asked you. Second of all, I feel like I just feel like I don't know. I don't want to be that bearer of bad news to tell somebody like, hey, I don't want to text you anymore. So I just kind of like you guys know that the meme where like what's his name, Homer Simpson is like slowly backing up in the bush. That's me. Like
that's ghosting.
That's me. So maybe I do ghost then.
I love it. I love it.
If we've been talking, I don't think I've ghosted anybody then. If we've talked regularly and we're talking all the time and then I just fall off the face of the earth, I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think.
That's hilarious.
I don't think. But I feel like, say we stop talking or whatever, like we've been going our separate ways. You've been doing your thing, I've been doing my thing, and then when you reach out to me, then I may not respond. I don't think that's really ghosting. Listen, to be truthful, you know within 60 seconds or less if you would like to date that person based off of physical attractions. After you find out something about that person, after you find out something about that person you are not attracted to, then you are ghost.
Oh.
Okay, kind of.
Uh,
I
Sure.
don't know if that's ghosting, but I do think that we don't talk enough about
You
physical
worked hard, though.
attraction.
You worked hard.
Huh?
I said, whoever wrote that worked hard.
No, that was good. I mean, I think for some people, oh, so I think you know what? That comment really works with online dating and meeting people online. I will say that in that context, it does work. So, for example, the light bulb just went off. So, for example, if we've been talking for a couple of months and you say, I'm gonna meet you, I'm a little sad. I mean, I'm about to say this. I'm gonna meet you at YLC.
My God.
And
You about to get booted.
no, I'm really sad. I'm grieving. And you know, we get there because so many of us had. Well, Elijah, you haven't been there yet, but you know, your friends are going. We see the post. I'm a part of. You know, you get there. You know, let's go to lunch or something. You meet them outside for one of the sessions or something like that, and then the online personality does not meet what's in front of you. Sometimes
Sure.
it's dead space, right? Like sometimes it just doesn't connect. Sometimes you're not physically attracted. I will say, I don't know if it's ghosting, but I will say that I can see that happening in that instance.
There's a major fallback anointing that is applied to that situation for sure. But I think I don't know.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't FaceTime or nothing. Like,
But sometimes it's not the same. That's what I'm saying. Like in the context of
yeah,
online dating, like you do all of those things, and then when you meet in person, the chemistry in person isn't the
isn't the
same.
same.
Like
Yeah,
I know people
yeah.
that so it's not that you're catfish because that's a whole nother conversation. That you're just not your picture. It's just because
Goodness.
some people. And we're gonna talk about this one
I
day.
have a catfish story to tell the
Yes.
next time.
People do that?
What catfish?
Like in real life?
No,
Yes.
Yeah.
we're gonna talk
She
about
said, like
catfish
in
before we
real
leave. Not in
life.
2 seconds. But I think that sometimes people have this and it bothers me, even in friendship. Y'all are so amazing online, and then you get in person and you're flat. Like you just, I don't know if it's social anxiety. I don't know if you can't talk. It's just not together. So we're gonna talk about that. It's ooh, ooh. It because it really upsets me, and not even for dating, like for friendships. Because you like, yes, girl, you under these pictures, you giving them everything. Yeah, that's my friend. You ain't never met her a day in your life. Like, hey, friend, like, oh, that's like one of my worst pet peeves. Do not give me the energy that I give you. Like, I promise you, I will. Anyway, but go ahead, tell us your story, Dana. I'm sorry, tangent.
I feel like
we
that's me though, but
That's not you. Like I'm,
I
because
feel
you're
like it is. Like
but you're quiet
I
natured though. So
right.
you're not under every picture like, yes, girl, like give it to me. Like you are not doing that. You not business,
You're right.
like and you just going about your business because you work, you know, you doing stuff like that. But I'm talking about the warriors. Like they are
The warrior.
tried and true. And
That's
then
it.
you meet
The
them
warrior.
in real life, whether it's romantic or friendships, and they are flat. Like it's no
Flat.
personality. Where are your emojis? Like where is your life? Like where is the
I
personality?
can't.
Sorry.
Flat.
I'm sorry. We'll end with your catfish story.
So a group of us had gone somewhere to watch Mark preach. And afterwards, because you know it was a YLC like kind of connection, and so one of the guys came up to me, and he was like, "I think somebody hacked your account." And I was like, "Yeah, I did have a problem with someone hacking my account a little while ago." And he had been having like a 3-month-long conversation. He's like, "So this isn't you?" I was like, "No, that's not me." He said, "Man, I knew I couldn't be this lucky." But he had been having a 3-month-long, like when he showed me his little inbox, it just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I was like, "Oh, no, baby. I'm sorry."
Oh, so you was the picture he was the person was using.
Somebody had, yes.
Oh,
You famous,
Oh my
dog.
gosh.
You famous.
yeah, you
You
famous.
famous.
It was
Your picture.
so
Can't believe people do that.
embarrassing for him. And, like, I almost wanted to say, let me see what y'all been texting, because what you been saying? What you thought you was saying to me? But he didn't want to show me.
But how do people still be getting catfish though? We got so many.
That's
I was like, that's the thing, right? You said you never FaceTime, like y'all never like.
The primary go-to is FaceTime. You haven't had one FaceTime conversation ever.
Mhm.
You
gotta
got
have
to,
a FaceTime
as a
date,
guy,
don't
of
see
course, you got to
FaceTime.
book your appointment. Like, make sure you book your appointment because you can't just call. So you don't just do that. Book
Can't
an
do this
appointment. I'm
call.
putting y'all on game. Book your appointment first. But after you book, you didn't see them. Like you, I don't know. It beats me.
Even on Messenger.
I
like,
can't
even
believe
if
that.
you can't even
And that's like
the-
so rude. I hate it when people just be trying to video call me on Messenger and stuff like that. You're so rude.
That's weird.
block.
I don't know you. I
Right.
ain't
You
in
getting
your house.
blocked. You getting blocked.
That
Male or
goes back to
female.
the conversation of people assuming that they have direct access to you. Like, first of all, I don't know you.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely not.
I'm just
Right.
saying, because we
I
in a
agree.
quarantine, so ain't no telling what I look like when you about to call. So please. I'm just being honest. We still, some of y'all out. We see Dr. Shonda got her nails done. Somebody commented earlier. She cute and things. All of us ain't there yet. We still in. We're still in
Y'all see I'm
phase
trying to talk
one,
with my
okay?
nail.
I mean,
We
as
still
a
in
guy,
virtual.
there's a lot of virtuous women, like Jen, that are like, they'll hop on a live every now and then to, kind of bring up the saints on Facebook. And so you just have to get to a place to maybe you finally graduated to where you deserve a FaceTime call. And then you go, maybe after your live, we can have a couple words. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to get creative. Like, I'm trying to help somebody. Just get creative. Get a little creative.
That's not really helping them.
That's not helping. You wouldn't want to get on like after, like you finally, like you've done your
I
makeup,
don't know
your
you,
hair, your glasses.
weirdo. Like, why would I
No,
just be
I'm not saying
FaceTiming
out the
you?
jump. My first statement was,
No, that's the thing. Like,
graduate.
certain strangers will try to video you.
I'm not talking about
Just because
You have to
you
graduate to
accepted
that.
a friend request or something like that, or we may have met you one time. Like, no, we're not there yet.
No, you have to tarry a while in the messenger until you prove your worth, and then you might be able to graduate to a FaceTime call. You don't just assume that you're just that tough. No, that's not what I'm saying.
There's
You
a hierarchy, like
graduate.
there's levels to this.
There's levels. You
Yeah.
must graduate first. You don't just.
You need
Yeah.
to be my real friend. Like, I don't
Yeah.
get that.
Right.
I need to engage with you in a place that I want to talk to you on my personal time.
Exactly.
Facebook, I think we have to, we'll talk about this another time about real life versus social media. I mean, it's a lot. It's close. It's a close running.
Right.
But you don't know me. You know my Facebook statuses.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Right.
That's for the masses. We the Lord uses me in different ways. Like, all of us.
Yeah.
That's public. You can have that for free.
Right.
Like, but you're
Right.
not. You know. Okay.
You have to put your time in.
You say Terry and Messenger though. That was hilarious.
Put your time in.
I like
Yeah.
put your time in. That's good.
And make a real
Because everybody
connection.
doesn't deserve access.
Yeah, a real
Yes.
one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because another thing that I hate is don't think just because you see my little green light on Facebook that you're going to bully me.
That's like such a stalker move. Isn't
I
that
took
such a
mine
stalker
off.
move? Like, oh my God.
You're not going to bully me for an answer.
At the end of the day, we have this weird sense of entitlement that's untrue, and you will get humbled quickly. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. Like, go about it the right way. Just because we're in quarantine, these they're not needy. Go about it the right way.
Etiquette. There's an etiquette that.
There's an etiquette to this thing. Do it the right way.
But even like the female, even friends, like, did you see my message? Yes, I ignored it. Like,
Yeah, I certainly did. No,
like,
I agree.
People are getting out of hand. You're getting out of hand, and we're getting out of hand. So I'm just saying, people of God, just make some real connections.
I'm not putting demands on my time. You don't own me.
That's
I do what I want.
Spirit.
Or
That's
people be like,
I will
posted
answer when
on
I get to it.
Facebook, but you can't answer my messenger.
You're right.
Insane.
I can.
Like, you're insane. Are you crazy? Are you a psychopath? Like,
that's so funny.
So I think that's the conclusion for tonight. I don't have nothing left. I don't want the people to be here. Let's not, because if we're honest, a lot of people are not getting dicks because you're weird, and I want you to be free from weirdness.
Be free.
I'm serious. We
free.
don't have basic
Deliverance is
social
yours.
skills. I
It
think
is
Dana
yours.
really
Yeah.
needs to teach people about just etiquette, like social skills. Like we just, we're
Right.
missing that.
Right.
Mhm.
Everybody wants, we just have to be normal in Jesus' name. So
Bishop
That's the
Patterson said
key.
it best.
So that's being normal.
Yep. Bishop Patterson said it best. He said, "Be healed,
which
be delivered, and be set free." He said it. He coined it. And I'm speaking.
I'm getting okay. That's my bishop. I'm just making sure. God bless you.
What you thought I was gonna say?
I don't know. I know it was good, but I didn't know if you were qualified to quote him. I didn't know if you were qualified. All right, we love you guys. We are here every Wednesday at 7:00 for the He Say She Say singles chat. We love you guys. If you have any questions, any topics that you want to talk about, we definitely love to kick off the conversation with relevant topics, things that are going on. I'm so glad that we were able to talk about the climate of what was going on right now, and really just genuinely express our feelings while talking about some things that are relevant. Sorry, guys, something on my lip. Well, things that are relevant to the singles conversation. So, any last words? Anything y'all want to say before we come together next week?
Be safe. If you're going to protest peacefully in Jesus' name. And if you do protest, wait a minute. If you do protest peacefully and you are a part of the YLC community and you happen to get arrested, there is a bail fund set aside for you, but only if you've ever attended YLC, Elisha. So if you get arrested, we're not going to bail you out.
Sorry, it tickles me. We love you, but I mean,
your love hurts.
We do love you. We love you. Okay,
your love is painful.
Or catch the replay. So, I think that's all for tonight. Anybody got anything else to say? Please. Anybody else got anything to say before I close? I'm gonna say it for Dr.
I would just want.
Go ahead.
I would just say. And first of all, I want to put out an alert. Lawrence, don't do this again. Thomas, don't do this again. Don't do this ever again.
You held it down.
You held yourself. You held your ground. You did well for the men. You represented well. You did well.
Two is definitely thank you to Mark for the platform and for the opportunity to say a lot of these things and get a lot of these things out there. And then lastly is just, definitely to the culture of what's the climate of what's going on. Let's continue to be safe, guys. We are in the middle of two pandemics, but let's not forget the one is, asymptomatic is still the word of the season. And you can bring it to somebody that is innocent and their life is now snatched because you were not, you weren't doing the right thing. So let's not forget that. Let's just be safe, and don't forget, love on your community. Our responsibility is still not just to, especially for, my brothers, our responsibility is just not to those women that you think that you're interested in or whatever. Our responsibility is to everyone that you're connected to. If you see someone else in need, look out for them. Whatever it might be, just a quick word. Like let's continue to sow in the lives of the people in our, that are in our community. It makes our world a better place.
This is the second time you said that. You said that last week too. So I'm gonna send you my Cash App so you can sow into me because you are fiending for somebody to sow into. So I'm gonna let you sow into me, okay? I'm gonna send you my Cash App. No? Yeah.
Oh, so now you want
me? So now you want to be friends.
Right.
But in all seriousness, guys, we know the reality of what's going on. I just wanted to remind us to be mindful of our mental health. Do what you have to do. The triggers, the stress of everything that is going on, and we are believers. We are Christians. Our hope is in Jesus. Yeah. Everything that we need is found in Jesus. We believe that racism is a sin, and that we will be victorious. So remember who the real enemy is. Remember who the real enemy is. So we love y'all so much. We thank you to our founder and visionary, Mark Moore Jr., for allowing us this space, as he does every week, to talk about the single things on our heart and to talk about whatever else we need to get out in this space. So we love you and we publicly honor you. We thank you guys for tuning in faithfully every week. If you know anyone that needs to see this, who just needs this enlightenment or just this lightheartedness right now, please tag them and invite them to watch the replay. We love you guys, and we will see you next week.
Bye, y'all. Stay safe.
Let's see if where's the principal?